My name's Adam Melnyk. I'm a leadership coach and owner of Seeing the Lead, and today I'm going to teach you the 10 rules for leaders. I was talking with a client the other day, and the client was asking me for some quick rules of thumb. Like, Adam, I'm getting into leadership. I don't really know leadership. I don't understand the art of leadership. Like, I understand the science of leadership on paper. I just don't understand the art of it, how to implement it. And he was asking, do you have any pointers for me just to help guide me and make sure that I always land on my feet? And I said, awesome. Boy, do I have rules for you. Now, these aren't hard and fast rules, but I can almost guarantee you, if you would go against these rules, either one, you will be removed from your leadership position, or two, you will probably be removed from your position. And so it's important to try to follow these rules as best as possible, because again, if you screw up, either the people above you will remove you or the people below you will remove you. I've seen it happen all the time. Even if you're a CEO or a business owner, trust me, if you start screwing around, you will be removed. And you say to me, but Adam, I'm a business owner. I own my own business. How can I possibly be removed? That's very simple. The people below you will tank your flippin' business, and they will make sure that you're removed because you won't have a business to run, and that is on you. So let's get into it. Rule number 1, treat others how you want to be treated. I think this one is very obvious. Typically, I say, treat everybody with respect. However, nobody seems to know what respect means. And so if I just say to you, hey, treat somebody with respect, you'll probably sit there and go, yeah, I treat everyone with respect. But then when we looked into your life, I'd sit there and go, no, you don't. You treat people like they're your minions. That's not respect. You need to treat others how you want to be treated, which means that these individuals that you have, that you are working for or working with, are smart, competent individuals. They deserve respect. They deserve to be treated well. You have to make sure you're treating them well, and in turn, they will treat you well. So the golden rule, and rule number 1, is always treat others how you want to be treated. The second one, and this is a big rule of thumb that people screw up all the time. You are a problem solver, not the problem. Understand this. And what do I mean by this? So I was working with a manager, and they were getting a lot of flack from the executive team. In fact, the executive team was so pissed off with this manager, they were looking at removing him. Why? The problem was he was causing a lot of problems in his department. In the department, they had 3 people that were on medical leave due to stress. They had another person who had just quit, and then they had another person who was contemplating quitting. At the end of the day, executives were looking into this department and saying, hey, I hired you to solve this problem. I hired you to run the department, and here you are just screwing it up, and you're causing me problems. You are the problem. I need to get rid of you and get somebody else in here to solve whatever problem this department is, like ASAP, because I have too much shit on my plate. And that's the thing you have to remember. You are a problem solver, not the problem. You are there to solve the problems at your level, so your upper leadership, your upper managers, they don't have to worry about it. If you are solving problems and not becoming a problem, I guarantee you'll always have a job. Rule 3, never mess with your people's money. I feel like this is common sense. However, I have seen way too many leaders screwing around with people's money and livelihoods. How do they do that, you ask? Well, they'll say, hey, Adam, I have a great investment scheme through Bitcoin or just investing in houses that you should do with me. And you're thinking to yourself, that sounds kind of dicey. And that's because it is. And I cannot tell you how many leaders have done something like that. Their employees or the people under them invest into these investments, and then their money goes bye-bye. It's gone. And then who's at fault? The leader is. The manager is, because they said this was going to be a safe investment and it wasn't. And if you would like to piss people off, start screwing around with their money. And I also see this when it comes to this idea of we have people, and some people need to stay on the bus and some people need to get off the bus. And our job is to help people get off the bus. Well, if you don't do this well, if you don't do this correctly, you're going to start pissing people off because, again, if you're firing somebody, you are screwing around with their money. They will be resentful to you. You are burning a bridge. You have to be very careful about this, which is why when we are firing somebody, we have to be a little bit more delicate for another video. But the rule of thumb is never mess with your people's money. Don't do it. It's their money. They do with it what they will. If you have a great investment scheme that you're doing, keep that to yourself. Do not spread it around to your people. Because again, if it goes under and they lose all their money, guess who's to blame? You are. Which gets into number 4. Never put yourself in a position to take from your people. Never put yourself in a position to take from your people. Guess what? They have less than you. You have power over them, which means that you're already taking from them. But if you are, for example, gambling with them, which I've seen, I knew a manager who used to play blackjack with his people and he would clean them out. And there's this idea of, oh, this is just how I make extra money on the side. It's like, no, you don't do this. Why? Because you build resentment and people remember that you screwed them over. You do not put yourself in a position to take from your people. You are there to help your people. You are there to uplift your people. You are there to help them get further ahead. You are not there to screw them over and to take from them. Do not do it. Which comes into number 5. Never mess with your people's relationships, especially their spouses. Jesus Christ, I had a manager who hated the wife of one of his subordinates. So you know what this little prick did? He went out there and he started bad-mouthing this wife to his subordinate and encouraging him to essentially break up with her. What the hell are you doing? Guess what? Word got around that this was happening. It became a huge HR issue. It became a huge headache. Anyways, this guy didn't have a job by the end of it. People remember, and especially if your people are having relationship issues and you start sticking your nose in there and it goes south, who are they going to blame? They're going to blame you. And guess what? When they start blaming you, you're going to fracture trust. You're going to fracture relationships. They are going to be resentful of you. Don't do it. Don't mess with people's relationships. Which comes into number 6. Your people are not your friends and family. I get it. You spend a lot of time with your colleagues. You spend so much time at work. You're so friendly with them. However, you have power over your people. It's important to remember this. You have power over your people. You can fire them. You can discipline them. When there are layoffs, you have to decide who stays and who goes. I cannot tell you how many times I've seen a leader. They get into power. They make these friends. And then those friendships start clouding their judgments. And they make stupid decisions. Example, I knew a woman who made friends with a gentleman. These will all name nameless. Friends with a gentleman, and was essentially taking him out to hockey games, to baseball games, taking him out to eat with her family. She essentially said this gentleman was family. This gentleman was incompetent. This gentleman had complaint after complaint after complaint against him. He should have been fired. But because she saw him as friends and family, she did not fire him. And then when layoffs came, she intentionally protected this gentleman as opposed to doing what she really should have and removed him. In a grander scheme of things at the work environment, what ended up happening is everybody knew that this gentleman was incompetent. Everyone knew he should have been fired, but everyone knew that she saw him as friends and family, which meant that they saw him as untouchable, and he knew it. And he was going around the office acting essentially like the king of the office, telling people what to do, doing things he really shouldn't be doing, and just causing a massive headache for everybody. And truth be told, he should have been disciplined. He honestly should have been removed. But because this leader believed in friends and family at the office, it clouded her judgment, which caused a lot of negative long-term repercussions for her down the lines that she's still suffering to this day. The rule of thumb is your colleagues are not your friends and family. The rule of thumb is always it's lonely at the top, and that's for a reason. We'll talk about friends and how to make friends in the workplace another time. But the general rule is the people you're working with are not your friends and family. Rule 7. Rule 7 is super easy. Your health is always the number one priority. People argue with me on this all the time. For example, I teach about proper diet, nutrition. I teach about mental health. I teach about just meditations and just helping you out. Why? Because if you're dead, you're not leading anybody. If your health deteriorates and you're in the hospital, congratulations, you're no longer a manager. You're a patient at the hospital. Your health is always number one. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. I was just talking to an individual who, I'm going to be brutally honest with you, the man had 2 feet in the grave. He was working 16-hour days, 7 days a week. He was eating McDonald's constantly. He was stressed out to the gills. So my background is in nursing, and I took his blood pressure, and his blood pressure was ridiculously high. And I said to him, dude, you are digging an early grave. And he says to me, I hear you, Adam, but I'm here to make money. And I said, cool. It does not matter if you have money if you're dead, because then you can't spend it. Your health is always the number one priority. If you don't have your health, you have nothing. Which gets us into number 8. Never lie to your people. I get it. There are things you don't want to tell them. Don't tell them that, but don't lie to them. I knew a manager who was in the middle of layoffs, and he lied to his people because he didn't want to scare them. He didn't want to spook them. So he said to them, there's going to be no layoffs in my department. Everyone's safe and everyone's fine, which was a blatant lie, as his team found out, as upper management cut half of his flippin' department. And he was well aware of that. Well, guess what? After the layoffs happened, his people looked back and said, you lied to us, which all of a sudden there's a breach of trust. There's just honestly being hurt. And there's a lot of resentment now growing within the team to, I'm going to level with you, to the point that I don't know if the relationship between management and the frontline staff could be mended. It was that bad about just how those layoffs went. And again, that's a whole nother video about how to just handle layoffs. However, just don't lie to your people. And there's a difference between just not talking about something and just blatantly lying. For example, in this conversation about this gentleman who was doing layoffs, he could have easily just said, yeah, there are layoffs and many departments will be experiencing them. I'm hoping that they won't cut into our department. He didn't lie. He's saying layoffs are coming and he's hoping that they won't. But there's that wiggle room of they probably will, but I'm not saying it. That's how you say that. You don't simply say, no, don't worry, our department's safe, and then have half your flipping team cut. Don't do that. Do not lie to your people. Don't do that. Don't do that. Number 9, be clear and honest with your people. Don't sugarcoat things. Don't beat around the bush. I cannot tell you how many times I've worked with managers who they are scared of their people. And so they don't want to exactly say what they want to say. So they just kind of beat around the bush. And everyone's walking away going, what? I don't understand what's going on. I.e., there's one manager who is essentially going to be firing her employee. The employee never saw it coming because the manager was not clear. They simply said, hey, so looking at your performance, I'm a little bit concerned because you're not doing what you need to be doing. And I would encourage you to start doing A, B, C. And the employer is like, oh, I guess what's happening here is they just want me to step up a little more. So I'm going to step up a little bit more. And they did. However, what the manager failed to just say was, no, we are honestly thinking about axing you. You are really not stepping up to the plate here. I need these things corrected like yesterday. We're going to have to reevaluate these things in the next few months and really impress upon this employee how dire the situation was, which they did not. And again, what ended up happening was this employee ended up getting fired, and it was a shock to them. Why? Because management was scared of their employee. They didn't want to deal with a negative reaction from their employee. They didn't want to deal with any negative emotions. And so they just kind of beat around the bush. Don't do that. This is bad. You're just screwing people over at that point. And to be honest, if you're scared of your people, you should leave. Like, get somebody else in your position because you clearly can't handle it at that point. So rule 9, just be clear in your communication and be honest with your people. Again, you're working with adults. They can handle you being honest. I've been honest with my people. I've sat them down and I said, hey, what's going to happen here is going to be incredibly difficult. It's going to be incredibly hard. We might come out with some really nasty stuff, but I'm going to be there with you every step of the way. And I've been brutally honest with them, and they've always appreciated it. That isn't to say that there's not a way to be honest and be clear, but that's a conversation for another time. Which gets into our last one. Number 10, always take care of your keys to power. If you get into a leadership position, you have what are called keys to power. These are individuals that are going to turn and get things done for you. If you piss off your keys to power will remove you. And so an easy example of a key to power is usually your manager above you. If you're pissing off that manager, that key to power will remove you. But then below you, you also have individuals that have power and they have keys. You have to take care of them, which is usually why when I talk about this rule, I say take care of your people. Make sure that they are happy. Make sure that they feel taken care of and make sure that they feel heard. Because if they do not, if you're pissing them off, if you're screwing around with their money, you're screwing around with their spouse, they feel like there's friendships and family things that are creating inequality within the workplace, if they feel like you are treating them with disrespect, guess what? They will remove you. And I promise you they will remove you. I knew a manager who was screwing around on a nursing unit, and the nurses got pissed off with this manager, and they went to the union, and they went to the manager above them and started complaining. And within the course of a month to 2 months, they had a new manager on the unit. Because again, they did not take care of their people. They did not take care of their keys to power. It's important that you recognize them. It's important that you take care of them. If you're struggling to be a leader in your own life, or just struggling to be a leader at work, or trying to get into a leadership position, feel free to reach out to myself at www.seeingthelead.com and sit down for a free consultation where we can identify what are your goals, where do you want to go, and start breaking that goal down into easily manageable steps, start moving you in the direction that you need to go. And if you found this video helpful, please give it a like, subscribe, and share it with somebody else that could use this information. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. Cheers.